You think being nice makes you respected. It doesn't. It makes you safe. And safe men are rarely taken seriously. This isn't about kindness. It's not about being rude. And it's definitely not about becoming aggressive. It's about one specific behavior pattern that most men don't even realize they're trapped in. The nice guy pattern. Nice guys avoid tension. They smooth things over. They soften their opinions. They laugh things off. They explain themselves too much. They believe respect comes from being agreeable. But respect doesn't grow from agreement. It grows from stability. And stability requires friction. When you act like a nice guy under pressure, you start adjusting yourself to the room. You change tone to keep things comfortable. You hold back disagreement to avoid conflict. You downplay boundaries to avoid looking difficult. And every time you do that, something subtle happens. Your presence gets lighter. People don't consciously say, "He's too nice." They feel something else. They feel that you won't push back, that you won't hold firm, that you won't create tension if needed. And when people feel that, they stop calibrating around you. They start calibrating past you. Nice guys often think they're emotionally intelligent. Sometimes they are. But emotional intelligence without backbone looks like compliance. You become the guy who understands everyone. But no one adjusts for you. You become the guy who keeps peace. But no one defends your space. You become the guy who avoids conflict. But conflict still finds you, just in quieter forms. Interruptions, dismissed opinions, delayed responses, subtle disrespect. Nice guys rarely get attacked directly. They get deprioritized. And that's worse, because you don't even see the drop in status when it happens. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The desire to be liked often overrides the need to be respected. And when that happens, you start negotiating your own position. You add extra explanations. You soften statements immediately after making them. You say things like, "Maybe I'm wrong, but..." Strong men don't remove kindness. They remove the fear of tension. They don't chase comfort. They tolerate discomfort. Because respect is built in moments where tension exists and you don't flinch. In the next part, we'll break down exactly what nice guy behavior looks like under pressure, and why it instantly lowers your social weight even when your intentions are good. Nice guy behavior doesn't show up when everything is calm. It shows up the moment tension enters the room. Someone disagrees with you publicly. Someone questions your decision. Someone makes a subtle, sarcastic remark. And instead of holding steady, you adjust. That adjustment is small, but it changes everything. You soften your voice. You add extra context. You explain more than necessary. You smile to reduce the tension. You think you're handling it maturely, but what people feel is something else. They feel that pressure moved you. Nice guy behavior under pressure is reactive accommodation. Instead of holding your position calmly, you try to restore comfort. You rush to clarify. You say things like, "I just meant..." "Maybe I wasn't clear." "I'm open if you think differently." That sounds reasonable. But under pressure, it signals uncertainty. Not uncertainty in your idea. Uncertainty in your standing. And once people sense that, they test more. Another sign of nice guy behavior is laughing off subtle disrespect. Someone interrupts you. Instead of finishing calmly, you chuckle and let it go. Someone makes a dismissive comment. You respond with humor instead of boundary. You think you're being socially smooth, but socially smooth without spine becomes socially ignorable. Nice guys also overprioritize being understood. If someone misinterprets you, you immediately try to fix it. You add clarification, you adjust tone, you want alignment instantly. Strong men tolerate temporary misunderstanding. Nice guys chase immediate approval. That chase lowers status, because status isn't built by eliminating tension. It's built by surviving it unchanged. Under pressure, nice guys move faster, they speak faster, they justify faster, they reassure faster, and speed communicates insecurity. Strong men slow down under pressure. Nice guys speed up. That difference is visible. You can see it in posture. Nice guys lean forward defensively. Strong men lean back slightly. Nice guys talk longer. Strong men reduce words. Nice guys try to be seen as fair. Strong men try to remain centered. Here's the hardest truth. Nice guy behavior often comes from fear. Fear of being disliked. Fear of being seen as harsh. Fear of creating discomfort. But discomfort is where respect forms. If you eliminate all friction from your interactions, you also eliminate weight. And without weight, your presence becomes optional. In the next part, we'll break down what happens long-term when nice guy behavior becomes your default pattern, and why the loss of respect is gradual, not dramatic. The damage doesn't happen in one moment. It happens quietly, gradually. Nice guys don't lose respect in a dramatic confrontation. They lose it in subtle recalibrations. You start getting interrupted more. Your opinions get acknowledged, but not followed. People agree with you, and then do something else. You don't get challenged directly. You get deprioritized, and that's harder to notice, because nothing feels aggressive. It just feels lighter. Your presence doesn't shift the room anymore. When you speak, the energy doesn't change. When you disagree, tension doesn't rise. When you set a boundary, it gets negotiated, and you tell yourself you're being easy to work with. But easy to work with often means easy to override. The long-term consequence of nice guy behavior is invisible authority erosion. People stop calibrating around you. They stop measuring their tone. They stop hesitating before interrupting. Not because they dislike you, but because you've trained them that resistance won't appear. Nice guys often become the emotional support system. They listen, they validate, they accommodate, but rarely do others adjust for them. That imbalance builds silently. You become useful, but not influential. Helpful, but not respected. And usefulness without respect creates internal frustration. You feel overlooked, undervalued, unseen. But when you replay interactions, you'll notice something uncomfortable. You allowed most of it, not consciously, but behaviorally. Every time you softened a strong statement, every time you avoided necessary conflict, every time you laughed off something that bothered you, every time you adjusted your boundary under pressure, you were teaching people how to treat you. Nice guys believe kindness protects them, but kindness without firmness invites pressure. Over time, you start compensating. You try to speak louder. You try to assert more forcefully. You try to suddenly become direct. But because your pattern was softness, the shift feels unnatural, and people resist it. Because consistency builds authority. Sudden aggression destroys credibility. That's why many nice guys feel trapped. If they stay soft, they're overlooked. If they suddenly become hard, they look unstable. The real solution isn't becoming aggressive. It's removing fear of tension. Respect forms when tension exists and you remain steady. Not loud, not angry, steady. In the final part, we'll break down what replacing nice guy behavior actually looks like, without becoming toxic, cold, or dominant. Because strength is not the opposite of kindness. It's kindness without fear. The solution is not becoming cold. It's not becoming aggressive. And it's definitely not becoming dominant for the sake of dominance. The solution is removing fear from your kindness. Nice guys aren't weak because they're kind. They're weak because their kindness is driven by avoidance. Avoidance of conflict, avoidance of tension, avoidance of disapproval. When fear drives your behavior, people feel it, and people test what feels uncertain. Strong men are still respectful, still calm, still measured, but they are not afraid of discomfort. That's the difference. When challenged, they don't soften automatically. When disagreed with, they don't rush to clarify. When misunderstood, they don't panic. They let the moment breathe. They let tension exist, because tension is not a threat, it's information. If someone interrupts them, they don't laugh it off. They finish, calmly. If someone dismisses their point, they don't over-explain. They restate it once, then stop. If someone tests a boundary, they don't justify it emotionally. They hold it. Without anger, without escalation, without apology. That's firmness without aggression. Nice guy behavior seeks harmony at any cost. Strong behavior seeks alignment. Harmony can be fake. Alignment requires honesty. And honesty sometimes creates discomfort. But discomfort handled calmly builds weight. Here's what replaces nice guy behavior. Fewer words under pressure. Slower responses under tension. Neutral tone during disagreement. Stable posture when challenged. No immediate reassurance. You don't become louder, you become steadier. You don't eliminate kindness, you eliminate compliance. You don't remove empathy, you remove fear of disapproval. When your kindness is no longer tied to approval, it becomes strength. People adjust to firmness, they test softness. The moment you stop flinching under mild pressure, dynamics shift. Not dramatically, gradually. Interruptions decrease. Tone toward you changes. People hesitate slightly before pushing, because now there's weight behind your presence. The goal isn't dominance, it's internal stability. When you stop acting from fear of tension, you stop negotiating your position. And when you stop negotiating your position, others start respecting it. Nice guys try to be liked. Strong men try to be consistent. Consistency builds trust. Trust builds respect. Respect builds influence. Kindness without fear is powerful. Kindness driven by fear is fragile. Stop acting from fear. Keep the kindness. Remove the flinch. That's the shift.